Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another weekly recorded market review for F45 trading. And this week in particular, we are talking about the first week of December. We are December 2nd to Friday, December 6th. So here's the deal for the rest of the month, folks. Just in case you were wondering, it's obviously holiday season for a huge chunk of North America, Europe, and Asian markets and everything else coming into Christmas here. Whether you celebrate it or not, doesn't negate the fact that a lot of major money obviously goes to the sidelines for this month, and chances are you may want to, if you do observe the holiday, just sort of relax and enjoy your time, and don't partake in the markets, because there's not going to be a whole lot. Yes, certainly if you go into the markets each day, you could grab 15, 20, 30 pips here or there, maybe even get a winner at 50 pips. But I wouldn't be expecting, big 100 pip range days or anything like that. Certainly you could maybe look at a swing trade idea, and I'll set up a couple here for you guys for the month. But this recording, just so you know, will be my last one for the month of December. And then after the markets open up in January, the first week, then I will start picking these up again, and mainly just because it is, again, it's holiday season, and the markets typically tend to go a little bit dormant during this time. Certainly there are, and anyone can come back and say, wow, what about this date and what about this year? And there's always going to be that, of course, where you get markets just moving like crazy in late December. But again, I won't be partaking in that, because it's not high probability. We're looking for a nice ebb and flow throughout the season, throughout the year, and December, typically, again, we're just kind of going back through the numbers and going back through history, typically tends to be a fairly tight consolidation month, with, like I say, most of the major money on the sidelines observing the holidays. So rather than try and go through there and get 10 or 15 pips here or there and take very highly improbable trades, I'm going to elect to just sit it out, and that goes along with the reviews as well too. So like I say, this will be my last one for the year, and then I'll pick it up again in January. Now for our members, they will be getting weekly market analysis for several major commodities, and I'll be talking about overall Forex yearly direction for 2020 as well. So basically setting up next year. All of my members are going to be getting all of that information. So if you are interested in any of that and setting your next year up, 2020 up, check us out at f45trading.com. And like I say, basically all the major commodities, the grains, the softs, the metals, the energy markets, and again, Forex markets, I'll be discussing in those series of videos, and I'll be dropping those once a week here for the month of December, and doing a nice full review on all of those and where I believe the opportunity lies and which ones are coming up for the first quarter of 2020, and that's obviously January to March. So obviously all commodities trend differently at certain periods of the time, and you do a bit of a 90-day look ahead to figure out which ones should be moving in which direction, and that's what I'll be discussing. And so there's lots of opportunity there. So if you guys are interested in the commodity markets, you definitely want to check that out. Okay, with that, I'm going to jump into the markets real quick for the last review of 2019. I can't believe we're here already, but for everybody out there, I hope you guys all enjoy your holiday season, and I hope you guys had a great year in the markets. And hopefully an even better 2020. Okay, so looking at the economic calendar, let's start there as we always do. We've obviously got, we're into Monday now. I typically do the reviews Sunday evening, but I elected to wait until the open of New York Open just to get confirmation on directional bias. Now, I think the markets have started to trend in the overall direction of the week, and so I'm fairly confident. I think we're going to see some fairly decent movement here for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for sure. Looking at the economic calendar, we've got a lot of red, high-impact news events, okay? With obviously the major impact news events down here at Non-Farm on Friday, December 6th. So be very careful. If you guys are going to trade this week, you probably want to have all of your trading wrapped up here by at least Wednesday. Going into it, though, starting off Monday, so at the time of this recording, we're coming up on the ECB President Lagarde, I guess you would pronounce it, speaking here in about an hour. A little under an hour. And then we have an hour after that, ISM manufacturing PMI for the US dollar. And then we've got current account for Australian dollar late in the day cash rate, and we have the Australian dollar rate statement. So that is definitely going to move the Australian dollar. And I'll talk about that here in a few minutes. We've then got more Australian dollar news. Really the only major news event for Tuesday for the Australian dollar comes in with GDP numbers. And then Wednesday, we've got medium impact pound sterling news. We've got high impact US dollar, ADP non-farm equipment change. We've got Bank of Canada rate statement, overnight rate, and we got US dollar ISM non-manufacturing PMI. So Wednesday is going to be a pretty volatile event for obviously US CAD and US dollar. We're going to see some nice movement on Wednesday. And then again, more Australian dollar high impact news events. So Aussie is really going to be moving this week, as well as the Canadian dollar. And then we've got OPEC meetings all day on Thursday. Now, OPEC, just so you guys know, if you are a crude oil energy trader, be advised that they are going to get together and they are going to talk about cutting the production rates. So this should pop the crude price higher, and I don't know how much higher they're going to get. They've really been trying to sink it. Since Friday of last week, they really sunk it and ran price, and now they're starting to make sort of a bit of a retracement on it. I'll talk about that as well too here today. And then going into Friday, we've got more OPEC meetings, and then we've got high impact Canadian dollar news, and obviously NFP for the US dollar. So just be aware that Friday is going to be you definitely don't want to be in the markets on Friday and Thursday ahead of NFP. That day typically tends to consolidate and kind of go all over the place, running the stops in both above and below the market. So you want to be careful on that. Again, all your trading hopefully should be done by Wednesday, and then just enjoy the rest of the month, guys. Study, do some long-term analysis, and just sort of leave it at that. Okay. So now we're going to cut into the charts here quick, and we'll get this review going. Okay, US dollar is starting to finally roll over. We had price run up into the lows of these candles in here. So this was a major area of resistance on the upside. Now, I had said last week and the previous week that I wanted to see them run these highs out here, and we did that very nicely up here. And then we had one big candle up on Friday, banged right in the low of these guys in here, and then it fell off quite sharply. So I'd like to see that. I like that price fell off and didn't really have any willingness to continue. Now, here's the thing. Do we continue to run this high here for the rest of the year and maybe challenge these highs out in the end of 2019 and possibly 2020? We're up in here. If we start taking out this high here, absolutely, I believe that's going to be the case. But are we going to roll over first and trade lower? I think that will happen. I'd like to see price come down into this range in here. right in there. So let me drop down to a 4-hour chart and you can see it a little better. We have a nice, again, price just chopping sideways in here. I think we're going to get down into this traded area down here and possibly start to swing below here, maybe into NFP on Friday. I don't see this week being a big blockbuster moving week. Like, I don't think we're gonna see 100 pips on the US dollar by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like how they came consolidated in here, dropped below, ran the sell stops, expanded back up, and then they just kind of sat price in here in one big rip up last Friday, which sort of ran all the stops again, turtle soup, and then price dropped back down, and we just had price rebalance higher after a little bit of a gap that was formed. So this was Sunday's open here, this was Friday's close, Sunday open, had a gap up, price ran up right into this area in here, so had a nice little brief retracement higher, and then finally price gave it up, and now we're seeing lower prices. So I believe we're going to see this continue to fall off, and as I say, we should be trading down around the 97.90 level here, hopefully by into Tuesday, and then we'll see what happens from there. Now, if they fail to get back above this area here, so what we could do is, obviously, I think we're going to keep rolling lower. If we see a little bit of support down in this area, we could get a bounce, and then we may see price trade higher. Now, if we do get that, and again, it could be anywhere in this area in here, anywhere between 97, 90, and 98 basically. If we get this, I want to see them not necessarily come all the way back up here, but if they do come all the way back here, I really don't want to see them go any higher than this blue line in here. Okay, so my line in the sand going higher is going to be 98, we'll call it about 98.14. I don't want to see them go any higher than that. If they do, there could be a chance that we may come back up earlier than expected and run this high here. What I'd like to see them do is actually continue a little bit lower. Hopefully this will be the high for the rest of the year. So I'd like to see them roll over. But that being said, certainly lots of area up here that I think they could expand into. And again, if we do get below this low here, so if we start trading under this level here, then I believe that this area in here is going to get targeted. And I'll just bring this guy up here for that. And that'd be about 97.50 we could look for the downside. Now, again, they're not going to, I don't believe they're going to get all the way down here this week. If we do get lower, this could take a couple weeks to develop, maybe even longer. I don't know. But just bear in mind that, it did take them from that level to get all the way up to here. It took them about 2 solid weeks. And again, there's only going to be the next really 2.5 or so, maybe 3 weeks of actual trading, and then we're right into the holidays, and then the last 2 weeks of the month are basically Christmas and going into the new year. So there definitely won't be any activity. Obviously the Forex markets will be open and moving then, but there won't be any large ranges, in my opinion anyway. There certainly could be, and some black swan events, which is why you definitely got to be careful. But I'd be looking for the US dollar to do this if we get a run lower and then a brief rejection at these levels here, and then a run back up. I don't want to see them go any higher than about 98.14 on the upside. And if they do, like I say, if we start trading above 98.14, then I believe we could be back up above this high here and possibly trying for these highs. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep it as simple as I possibly can there. Euro USD, we had similar movement higher, nice explosive bullish action right out of the gate for Monday for the week, and that is after price came down. You see that, and ran that low right there. So again, we had a big turtle soup on Euro USD. They ran the stops lower, rejected, and now we're seeing higher prices, and you can see they rejected basically right at the body highs here, so right back in this consolidation level. Beautiful to see. Nice confirmation of trends going higher, and I think we're going to see continued bullish action. This is kind of why I'm thinking we're going to see lower prices on euro on the US dollar. We've got some nice areas right up in here that I think could get targeted, and already we've already seen just on the day, as you can see here, there it is, finally updated, had a nice big update. So price again had a little bit of a gap to start out Sunday. Price ran all the way back down, right back to this consolidation area in here. Very, very logical area for them to find some support at. Hopefully some of you saw that as well, and now we're seeing an expansion higher. So on the day, I believe we're probably going to run up into these lows, and so we're coming up onto that here fairly quickly in about 10-15 pips. I want to see what happens there. So again, do we shoot up into here, very similar to what the US dollar is doing, lower, and then come back down, rebalance, and then go higher? If that is the case, I would be looking for the low to come in at about 110.20. Wouldn't want to see price go much lower than that. If we do go lower than 110.20, then again we could start to see them maybe come back down and try to sweep this low again, in which case then we could obviously look to shoot down into here. This is a nice range in here. We came back, rebalanced that range once, twice, and now we're seeing expansions to the upside. So I think that's probably going to continue. But nice reaction here on Monday, and this is again why I wanted to wait to do the video here today as opposed to Sunday, just to confirm that directional bias. But I think we're probably going to see a move higher. Now we may not get this, just so you know, we may not even come back. Price could just come briefly retrace back to 110.35, 110.30s, and then want to expand higher. So we may not get this. But certainly I believe we're going to get up into the 110.55 to 110.60 range. And then from there, what I'd like to see for the week is this high getting run out. So that would be nice to see. Again, just the time of year and everything. If this was in any other time, from mid-January to November, I'd say, yeah, this shouldn't be a problem getting price all the way up to here. We're not talking a lot. We're only talking about 70 pips or so. That usually isn't a huge stretch. It'd probably take a couple of days for the Euro USD to get up there. However, again, we are going into a low volatility time of the year, and so they may not get up here this week. But this is the target that I'm looking for. Maybe it'll go in next week. I don't know. But I think this range here, I think, should get filled back in before the end of the year. So that's a prediction for now. If it doesn't come true, don't blame me for it, because again, it's holiday trading and anything is possible. The Euro USD could just sit in a range. Like, we could just bounce in this range here for the rest of the year. Okay, so that is certainly a possibility as well too. But I definitely like it running higher, and at least up to the 110.95, maybe the 11100 level, just for argument's sake, right there. That could be a possibility, but we'll have to see how that pans out. GBP USD, or the pound dollar. We're still stuck in this tight range here. We have been in this range now since early October, and it has not broken out of it. Do we get out of this year? That's a question that remains to be seen. You can see we're running in that range to there, and we haven't done anything else significant since. So I'm hoping if the US dollar does fall off, that it should give this a little bit of fuel. Keep in mind, though, there are Brexit votes again coming down in January. So very likely and very possible that they will keep this consolidated in this range for the next month or so, up until those votes. So I wouldn't expect the pound dollar to start breaking new highs or anything like that and start getting up above here. If it does, great. I mean, that'd be awesome. If we try to make a move above these highs here, that'd be awesome. I think that's ultimately where they want to take this, take it higher. I think this could probably be the low down here, but we won't know until that Brexit vote comes in, and so that's a little ways away yet. So really nothing to discuss with the pound dollar, unfortunately, until we start getting out of this range here. Other than we do have some relatively equal lows down here, and I'll just highlight these quickly. You can see all those lows in here. We could easily see a quick drop below those to pick that up. So I'm not going to discount that. And then I think ultimately, though, I'd like to see this higher moving forward. I think this is just kind of a nice bull flag, and we're going to see another big leg higher, basically to do this here. When that happens, do they leave it for the Brexit stuff? Do they do it before? I don't know. Unfortunately, holiday trading, guys, I don't foresee this breaking out of this range anytime soon. Euro GBP, we had a little bit of a run higher to start out. Let me get rid of these day dividers. A little bit of a run higher to start out the trading week this week. And you can see in here, we're just slowly starting to kind of fall over. It's really taking a very long time. Not really doing anything. We're still in an inside range from last Friday. I would expect a little bit more upside potential possibly on this pair. Again, maybe a run up into these levels in here. But I would expect price to then gain some resistance up there and then fall over. Ultimately, I think we're going to run these lows here on pound dollar. If we get that this year, then that could give some strength. I'm sorry, I said the pound dollar. On Euro GBP, I think we could get lower into here and run these lows before the end of the year. And if we get that occurring, then we could see the pound dollar run these highs here. And maybe these highs. Like I say, I don't foresee these highs because that's quite a ways away. That's 250 pips away. It certainly could. Don't get me wrong. I want to leave it open, but might be tough. Euro GBP, we're a lot closer to those lows. And let me just bring this in here. Chart shift. So, whoops. Those lows come in at 84.70, call it 84.80, and price is currently at 85.40. So there's only about a 60 pip range for Euro GBP to get down to that area down there. But that's what I'm looking for to do, is to swing down there. Probably going to see them run above this high here and maybe sweep those highs. But I think ultimately this pair is going to roll over, and then we'll see lower prices for the rest of the week. US CAD, really going absolutely nowhere. And again, just have a look at where US CAD is. I know I sound a bit like a broken record here, but just look at this consolidation on US CAD. I mean, price has spent an absorbent amount of time working this area, this 132.50 to 13300 level, that 50 pips range. 50 pip range has just been working this just an obscene amount. It's been a long time since I've seen pairs do that, and typically when pairs do that, I typically tend to focus on other markets because there's better opportunities out there, and this is one of them. Unfortunately, I usually like trading the US CAD, but until we start getting some kind of traction on this, I don't really see any opportunity in here, other than the fact that if we do see the US dollar fall beneath this low here, that will obviously pull the US dollar, US CAD lower as well. Not to mention, just keep in mind, if the price of crude oil starts to strengthen, so OPEC going into Thursday and Friday, if they do come out and confirm indeed that they are going to start cutting production, then what that's going to do is it's going to give strength to the Canadian dollar, and what you'll see is price starting to fall off on and get lower on US CAD. Okay, so just keep that in mind, guys. Now we do have some equal highs up here. We could certainly shoot above that, but so far this little price range in here has offered some pretty significant resistance to that. And you can see they've been working this area now for a couple of weeks. They've come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're working on their 7th time coming up in here, and they're not making any ground trying to get higher. So I'm kind of leading to believe that we may not run these highs, and we could probably just come up to this consolidation level here and then start to roll over. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on US CAD. We will see if price moves higher than this range in here, then we'll probably shoot above this high, and where we go from there, I don't know. Again, that would all be dependent on the US dollar. But so far, they look like for the past at least 3 hours or so, we're just kind of consolidating a little bit. So we'll see if that continues. You know what, folks? My apologies. I just realized I wasn't getting a live feed on that 4-hour chart. You see that? There we go. There's that 4-hour chart. Just finally updated. Sorry about that. Sometimes my broker is a little bit slow in my internet connection for whatever reason. I pay top dollar for the best internet connection, and it doesn't give it to me all the time. So you can see how this level is really holding off. We did, albeit pop up just briefly above it last week in there. But you can see how that level is holding up. This basically 13300 level. So far it's holding off price. So I'd be interested to see if we start to fall off here sometime in the next little while. Now keep in mind, right, just remember this, we do have Canadian dollar interest rate decisions. So more than likely, we're not going to see the Canadian dollar move until Wednesday, okay? So just bear that in mind. We could see this consolidate, and this is a weekly chart, so this is Monday. Tuesday, we'll probably still stay in the same range, and then Wednesday, we'll start to make some significant headway, either higher or lower, okay? Australian dollar, nice little pop on Australian dollar. We came down and ran back down, basically back into the old highs of this consolidation level in here. So far, seen some nice support down in this level here. Australian dollar, this move in here, hopefully a lot of you guys took part in that in October and November October, I should say, because Australian dollar trended very, very nicely to the upside, reacted above at a very logical level, and rejected quite nicely right down. Now, my rejection call was basically just to come underneath these lows here. We did that quite handsomely right there, and then all of this in here has just kind of been sitting on your hands and waiting for price to make a move. I think we're finally starting to get that here now. I'll drop down to a 4-hour. You can see the bounce, very, very aggressive bounce. Now, big question is, do we come in? We do have a little bit of a gap right here. Yes, we came down, wicked into it, and then rejected. Do we come all the way back down and fill that in? I don't know the probability of that. I'm going to leave it on the table. As I say, Australian dollar, like the Canadian dollar, has a ton of high-impact news events for this week, and it all starts off this evening. So just be careful with that before you get into Australian dollar. I would at least wait for that 11:30 p.m. New York time news event to come out, which is the rate statement for the Australian dollar. So I would at least wait for that to get into this trade if you guys are looking at trading the Australian dollar. But I'd be looking for higher prices. I like this up here. I like this little area right there. It is a ways away, I know. We're 130 pips for Australian dollar to do 130 pips. That could take a couple of days by all means, but I do think this could be a target up in here. Okay, so I'm going to just tag that up here. We've got that 169, call it 30. Now, what would change that if the price were to run all the way down, take out this low here, and we started to trade back down to 167.30? Then I believe that this was just a fake out to the upside, and the real price is going to be lower for the rest of the year, and possibly trying to swing below these lows here. I'm hoping this is the low of 2019. You can see that. all those lows put in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lows down there. Didn't seem to want to go anywhere, and we had a big explosive move to the upside. I definitely like to see that. But that being said, you know, look at the Australian dollar. Look at the monthly profile on Australian dollar. They've really been killing this market since 2010. Just a bear market. So am I suggesting that we're going to be all the way back up in here? No, absolutely not. But what I am suggesting is that I think we could see this as the low for 2019, and we could just sort of see them. And again, you know, we're not going to make big strides. I don't think we're going to be getting up into here or anything like that. But certainly for the rest of the month, we could just kind of be banging in this area right in here, this sort of 100 pip range on Australian dollar. I think we could be moving towards. So, lastly, I'm just going to talk about crude oil. I was going to talk about gold a bit, but gold, we're still locked in this range here. And I think we're probably just going to see this continuation for the same consolidation for the rest of the year. So there's really nothing on gold to talk about here for the week. If something changes, I can certainly do a video for you guys and post that, but I don't see gold making any massive strides anywhere yet. Crude oil, this was that big drop I was talking about on Friday. They smashed price down just out of the blue. The last 8 hours of the trading day on Friday just crushed the market. Came back down here, ran all the sell side stops below, and so far we're rebalancing now a little bit higher. Now, how much higher do we get? This is going to be the million-dollar question. If we go back into here, we can see, and then, whoops, and I want to go back. There we go. So you see this area, this was that, this big gap right in here. This has kind of got my interest, okay? So this was the gap when Saudi Arabia's, sorry, not Saudi Arabia, Saudi Aramco got attacked by that missile, and it blew up half of their facility. This was the reaction, and this was in September. You can see that they gapped open about $5 or $6 straight to the upside. Price came in, just took out the high, and then it rejected. This area has my interest, and particularly we're at about $61.30. $61.30. Now, do we get all the way back up to $61.30? That's what I'm interested to see. We're really making a case for it. As you can see, we came down, dipped, hit the low, and prices each week from there has just been steadily, slowly increasing. Very, very sideways, choppy price action, but they have been steadily increasing. Every time they dip it down, they come back up. Dip it down, shoot back up. Dip it down, shoot back up. Dip it down, shoot back up. Consolidated for 2 straight weeks in here, but then they dipped it down, shut it up, and then now we came back down, dipped it down one more time here. So what I'm looking to see is if this price continues higher and we start getting above 57.50, you know, up into 57.70s, I think we're going to see higher prices. We'll probably run out these highs, and then we could shoot up into the 61.30 level, sweeping these highs here. Again, OPEC is coming out this week. They are anticipating production cuts. Now, whether or not all of the OPEC members follow through with that is another story. I don't know, but I think they're trying to bolster price. Now, that being said, if we do have a run up to 61.30, I'm not anticipating crude oil to start shooting above this high here and getting up into here. Hey, if it does, great, we can plan for it. But I think, again, if we get up above this level here, I'd be targeting around 61.30, just to sweep above these highs here. And I think it's just basically to rebalance price. And then I think what they're going to do is sink this market. Look at this, and I've been talking about this for a very long time, so this should be nothing new. You see this low here, all of these lows, this low, this low. They're really setting up the narrative that this is support in this area in all traditional senses of the word. And I think they're just basically, everyone's stacking orders up into here. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to shoot up to here, maybe up into here if we get through this level here. And then they're going to sink price. The million-dollar question is, do we get price down below $50 before the end of 2018? or does that happen in 2019? That's what I'm sorry, I'm behind a year. Does price shoot down under here in 2019 before the year is over, and then start 2020 off higher, and then we've sort of seen the glut of the low oil prices, or do we kick it up into here for the end of the year and then shoot down into early next year and start running these lows under here? I believe with almost 100% assurity we are going to see prices below $50 per barrel. When they do that, I don't know. That's the $1 million question. But I'm hoping that that's the end of it. I like how they've expanded up in here, and back I'm on a weekly chart. So they've come in here, created these lows at about $25 a barrel, which incidentally have not been seen since 2000 and pre-2010. They came down significant low on the market, shot price straight up, and then right back down. And again, created a couple equal lows. This low just got below this low here, and then we're just kind of sitting in this sort of $20 range, $15 to $20 range on crude oil. What I'd like them to do is come down, sweep this 1, 2, 3 lows right there, sweep that, reject, and then start to shoot higher. I really hope in 2020 we're going to see price up around into the 70s on oil, making trying to eclipse this high here, and then hopefully shooting up into the 80s. That's my prediction for 2020, and we'll see how that goes out. So I'm going to leave it at that. I've wrapped up this video here. It's kind of got to be a little bit of a long one. I apologize, but it is the last one for the year, and I hope you get a little bit of value out of it. Please share this with your group if you can. If you got some value out of it, give me a thumbs up, like the video. It all helps to get a little bit of recognition. And again, I hope you guys have a great holiday, great December. Don't push the markets too hard, folks, because again, it's holiday trading season, and typically the markets just kind of trend sideways. There's not a whole lot of action. Like I say, there's certainly 15, 20, 30 pips that you can always capture within a given day, but there's not going to be big breakout moves that I think you can anticipate with any high probability, and that's how you want to trade. You obviously want to trade in high probabilities, and so hopefully you don't press it too much. Just sort of take it easy if you are observing the holidays with your family, and use the time to study. Study what happened in 2019, 2018, 2017, and apply those forecasts obviously to 2020, and start setting your year up. Put some levels on the charts. Start a journal if you haven't already, and mark up the charts a little bit, guys, and just start building your prediction skills. Okay. Because it will go a very, very long way to helping you in 2020. So with that, I will leave you for the rest of the year. Enjoy December. I hope you guys have a great New Year's, and we'll catch up to you in 2020. Thanks for watching. Take care.